So, bosses, welcome to About Her Business, the podcast where we leave all the gossip at the door and get straight down to business. I'm your host, Jonte, and today we have the founder and lead artist of Papercraft Miracles, Miss Janna Willoughby-Lohr. Now, Miss Willoughby-Lohr has created an eco-friendly paper art business that has caught the attention of several global brands and even a few celebrities. And she's here today to help us smell the roses on what she means business. So, ladies, grab those cups and those notepads, and let's get down to it. The meeting is now in session. Welcome, Janna.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. Are you ready to get into it? Perfect. Let's go. So, can you share a story behind Papercraft Miracles and what originally inspired you to start this business?
So I originally went away to college to be a slam poet. I was going to be a creative writing major. And when I got to school, I realized they didn't have a creative writing major. They only had an English lit major. And I knew I didn't want to be an English professor. So I started looking through the course catalog to see what else they had. And they had an entire book arts department to learn how to do bookbinding, paper making, print making, that kind of stuff. And I had always done collages and made my own journals and things like that my whole life. And I just thought, what? I had no idea you could even take classes with that. I signed up for as many of those as I could get into as a freshman. And at the end of that year, I knew that's what I was supposed to be doing. And I met with my advisor and I said, hey, man, here's all the classes I took. What major am I working toward? And he said, those are all elective, so nothing. But I was there in scholarship and I said, shit, what am I supposed to do now? I can't do 5 years. This is a long time ago. You couldn't get unlimited student loans back then, which I guess looking back is a good thing. But I was like, what am I supposed to do? And he asked me one question that changed my whole life. He said, what do you want to do? Like, I want to be an artist and I don't want to be broke. How do I do that? And he said, you should do that as your major. And long story short, I created my own major. I did integrative studies and I put entrepreneurial business and creative art together and spent the rest of my 4 years figuring out how to have an art business and make money selling art.
Oh, wow. Wow. Go ahead.
I had by the time I graduated, I had my domain name, I had the name of the business, I had a 25-page business plan, and I technically was ready to start a business. But also during my junior year of school, 3 weeks into the school year, my mom passed away. And I was going to school about 1,000 miles away from home, and she didn't have a will, and it was really difficult. I spent a lot of time taking the Greyhound bus back and forth from North Carolina to Buffalo to go to housing court and meet with lawyers and all this stuff. And then 4 months after she died, on what would have been her next birthday, my dorm burned to the ground with all of my stuff in it while I was in it.
Oh,
2 days before the new semester was supposed to start. And obviously it was like tons of grief, tons of trauma, and I still had to be an adult immediately and still going to class and hustling and traveling back and forth and still managing to get good grades and do what I was supposed to do. And I think in a situation where a lot of people would have just said, tapping out, I'm done. Where's the bus and the cancer that's coming to hit me? I went into the art studio and I started making all of this art about my mom and about grief and trauma and losing your things and about what life is really about. Because having all of my stuff burning in fire at 20 years old, 3 days afterwards, I just looked at my roommate and I was like, we don't have any stuff and it doesn't matter. The stuff doesn't matter. And I started making all of this art about coming back to life and telling people to seize the moment, that life is short and it's about your connection to yourself and to your community and to the earth and to each other. And I would do these kind of show and tell events and show off these books and tell the stories and read the poems, perform them for people. And people would come up to me afterwards and they would cry. And they would say, I'm not the same person that I was before I saw that.
wow.
And so I didn't realize when I was making all this art, I did it for me. I did it to heal myself and find a way to come back to life. And I did not realize that sharing it with other people was going to be the thing that restored their connection, plugged them back in. And as soon as I realized I could do that with the work I was doing, I was like, that is 10,000% like where I'm supposed to be. That's my purpose in life. And that's why my business is called Papercraft Miracles, because making and sharing this art with people saved me when I literally had nothing.
Oh, wow, and thank you so much for sharing with our audience because talk about turning pain into purpose. At 20 years old, losing your mom and then having losing everything in a fire, a lot of people, as you said, would have given up, but you took it and you turned it not only into a business, you turned it into something beautiful that inspired and helped others. And I just want to thank you for sharing and being so honest and open with our audience because a lot of people, especially women entrepreneurs, we have that one moment where a setback, it could be as simple as our kids get sick or us not making $1 million by Friday and we give up. So let Janna be the inspiration to just because you have those bad moments, stick with it, y'all. So so you're a jack of all trades. You are a poet, you run a podcast. How has your background in art and poetry and music shaped the way you approach your business?
I think that even starting as a very little kid, I started writing poems when I was 5. And I wrote them like I was drawing a picture. And I couldn't really write words properly because I was only 5, but I would see whole phrases and sentences and things in my head like it was a picture, and I would trace them and show them to my mom and say, "Hey, look at my picture." And she would say, "This is a poem. Where did you get this?" And
Mm,
so I've always felt like it comes from somewhere else, and that I'm just like the vessel, I'm the channel. And if I can open the channel, that it just shows up. And over again, the universe has pointed me to I'm a connector. I connect other people, I restore people's connection, I plug them back into the energy of life. And I think that everything I do is rooted in that. So I know that not everyone the poetry's not accessible to everybody. Some people hear it and they're like, that makes me feel stupid. I don't understand what that means. And they don't hear connection that way. They need to see it in a visual way or handle it with their hands. They're tactile, right? Everybody has different ways to connect to them. So I think that's why I really fell in love with doing artist books, because they're the words and the materials and the design and how you interact with it and what it sounds like when you open it and when you read it out loud and what it feels like when you open it. And it all works together to make a whole body experience. And it's more than just a poem or a painting or a song. It's all of those things in one. And I think being able to access all of those different creative outlets helps me to just connect more people.
absolutely. And again, turning that pain into purpose, you again hit on a great point of how everybody views arts. For some people, it might be poetry. For some, it's writing. For some, it's that visual that they need to actually connect to. So again, thank you for taking those different aspects of everybody's life and thinking of everybody and creating those different avenues for everyone because I just love everything about art, y'all. It can make your day. And I'm a reader. I like visuals as well. Poetry has never really been my thing because I always felt like I was stupid after I read it. But thank you again for just mentioning those different areas of art because a lot of people try to compare art, think that painting and writing and music even are not the same thing, which is forms of art. They try to put them in different categories. So thank you for highlighting that for our audience that those are forms of art, y'all.
Exactly. That's how we're meant to experience the world. All 5 senses. We need all of those. Cooking, that's art too, right? You're being creative. You're thinking of ways to combine things in ways that are going to make people feel something when they smell it, right? You're creating that full body experience for people. And all of those things are everybody is creative. And at some point in many of our lives, somebody has tried to crush that dream, right? They've tried to say, oh, that's not something you could monetize, not worth doing. But humans are made to create. That's the thing that sets us apart from like wild animals. We can do these things. We can write words and string words together in a way that makes somebody else's hair stand up. We can do that kind of thing. And when somebody says to us, that's not worth doing if you can't make money off of it. And nobody makes money off art. So why bother doing it at all? And I was like, first of all, we're not doing it because we make money. We're doing it because it makes a difference. and it makes change. Artists make change. And that's my whole jam. And I think that I have this theory about successful artists, and that once in our society anyway, once artists become successful, society doesn't see them as artists anymore. Now they're famous people. Famous people deserve to be paid well, but they're not artists. And like Taylor Swift, that girl's an artist. That's a girl with a guitar who never listened when somebody said, "You suck." I'm
Right.
sure plenty of people in her
Right.
life at 8, 9, 10 years old said, "Hey, you suck. You should stop doing this." And she said, "I don't care what you think. I'm doing it because this is what I'm supposed to do." And all the most successful artists are people who said, "I don't care what you think. This is what I'm meant to do." And they did it anyway.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I could even highlight another area where people don't find it art, but even your fashion designers, they are creating art. And whether it's food paintings or even photography or poetry or writing, all of those are creative expressions, y'all. So please stop down the art industry because that is literally what's taking over the world right now. Creative designs, creative artists, because it does it. It makes other people happy and it brings other people joy just by those people having the courage to step out there and create those different forms of art.
Exactly.
So let's talk about sustainability. Your business is centered on sustainability and eco-friendly practices. How has that focus influenced the growth of your brand?
At first, it was funny because people thought they were being sustainable by taking everything digital and saying, "Oh, no one's going to write in a journal. They'll all be on LiveJournal," right? Because when I started this, there was no social media except LiveJournal. It had just come out. And then Evites came out and people said, "No one's ever going to send a paper wedding invitation ever again because there's Evites," right? And this is what the big thing, it was like the big, cool new thing. And I said, "You just wait," right? There's something different about holding something in your hand, that physical touch aspect of life. It's different. When you write something down on a piece of paper in a paper journal, it sticks in your brain in a way that it does not if you were to type it on a computer. It's just not the same. You get an email from someone, even if it says something lovely and wonderful, it does not hit the same as when you get a handwritten letter in the mail, right? That person's energy went into that physical item and you absorb it when you get it. So I think being really intentional in the things that we make and focusing on making things that
Absolutely.
focusing on things that either are intended to have a long cherished life, things that people keep, things that people center their living spaces around. They see them every day. They want to show them to the people who come over to their house, right? We make those things, or we make things that are easily returnable to the earth. Because if you're going to have stuff, I learned this at 20 years old, that in general, most stuff doesn't really matter. So if you're going to surround yourself with physical items, they should be things that bring you joy. I was definitely Marie Kondoing before I Marie Kondo, but having the things that are useful, that do fill you with joy, that help you tell the story of the people you care about the most and the experiences that you've had in your life. So I think that's the first step in having a sustainable business, is really thinking about, why am I making that? I'm not making items because I can sell them. I'm making items because people care about them. And my clients care about things. So they care about the environment. They care about taking care of people. They don't want to buy an item that is made and then comes in a plastic bag, right? They don't want that. So at first, when I was really setting everything up to be able to do what I'm doing, I had to hunt around and find what kind of packaging is there that's sustainable, that still allows people to see the products in the packaging. And it was more expensive. It's still more expensive to buy sustainable packaging and to make those choices and to pay my staff a living wage and to do as much as we can to source our materials from ethical vendors and try to shop local, ship local, repurpose materials as much as possible. It is more expensive. It is more labor intensive. It does take more time, but it saves energy and people notice. We're not greenwashing anything over here. And I think that we really get creative and use our creative skills every day to say, this is the problem that our client is facing. They want to be able to reach people in this way, or they want to celebrate in this way. how can we do this in a way that still honors the values of the company? And we want to make sure that we are packaging something if we need to package it, but not packaging it if we don't, right?
Exactly.
And really just being intentional about it and reminding people that reduce and reuse are way more important than recycle. Use
Ab-
less, have fewer things that actually matter. Think about where they come from. Be intentional, be mindful about the way that you walk on the earth, the way that you interact with other people. And I think there's also a big aspect to sustainability that a lot of people think they're like, oh, sustainability, it's just bringing your own bags to the grocery store and, maybe driving an electric car. They think of it only sustainability. It appears to only be how do you affect the earth? But sustainability is so much more than that. It's taking care of your community, being a positive presence, thinking about how you can keep things local and to affect change and to use the money that you make to make the world better around you and taking care of people and the planet ahead of profit always. And in the traditional business world, they never ever think about people and planet ahead of profit. Not even ever, but definitely not always. And it shows. Our society, our current system of capitalism works because of the unpaid labor of women. It works because of slave labor around the globe. It works because of the exploitation of those who have no options. And if you're not thinking about those things in the way you're operating your business, you can't do it perfectly. No one can do it perfectly, right? But if you're not trying to be better and you only think about the bottom line, then that's not sustainable. It's just not for the planet that we live on. We're going to run out of resources. And
Absolutely.
if you can't operate your business in a way that actually takes care of people on the planet, why have one?
There you go. And you said that perfectly because we can name several businesses that started off with that eco-friendly title. And sure enough, they sold millions and people started to find out that they were a scam because they were using harmful products or, as you highlighted, using factories where they were paying people like a penny per, well, penny a day. And I think that was great that you brought that up because a lot of people don't think about those people that are in those slave factories overseas that are putting together all of these pieces for us to sell over here in America and all countries rather, and they're just only making pennies, y'all. So if you're intentional about helping the community, as Jonna just said, you real deal have to do your research. And she's right. Sustainability is expensive. It really is. But you'll thank yourself later because you actually went out there and did your research and found out how harmful it could be to others. And that'll help you last long term, honestly.
And when it first became a thing to get an electric car, they were hard to come by and they were really expensive. But the more that people said, that's something that I want to put my money toward. And that's a huge thing with like millennials and Gen Z. Like they care. They care about what's happening to this planet because we and our children have to live here. And if we don't make those sacrifices, if we don't do those things now, they will not be able to survive in this world. And like,
Absolutely.
I don't see that there's any other option than to operate in a way that actually lives 7 generations ahead, right?
A-
You
Absolutely.
have to think that way.
And once again, you hit on the champs out there because the millennials, we real deal, we changed the game from coming out and speaking up when it came to politics to speaking up at entrepreneurship, starting our own businesses at young ages and young ages and just consistently building ourselves. And now with the younger generation coming behind us, I am actually proud to see the generations that are coming behind millennials starting to pick up on that we want to save the world type of mentality. And they're not just standing for anything that even some of the things that we've stood for. So that's a great highlight that you just brought up because that does matter, building something for the next generation. And if you're not really building anything for the next generation, whether you have kids or not, then she's right. And I'm going to agree. Why are you here?
What are you going to do with all that money when you die?
There you go. There you go.
Nothing, because it's not about that. That's one of the things, like losing all my stuff. 20 years old. And when you're 18, 19, 20 years old, like that's the time in your life where it's really our culture solidifies it into our souls that your value is based on monetary success. And the ways that you show that you're successful, the ways that you show that you're good at being a grown up, right, are the things that you have. I have a car, I have an apartment, I have a bike, I have a computer, I have a new phone, I have a sweet purse, right? Like I have achieved those things. Look at how good I'm doing. And we totally forget that that's not what life is about, right? Like that purse is not keeping you warm at night. Right? That person's not asking you, are you okay? They're not lending a hand. They're not building any community around you. And, you know, we've separated ourselves so much because of it. Because we're all like working as hard as possible so we can have the things. And then we can go inside our house and sit alone with our things instead of how it used to be, where we had communities, we had villages, we had families who support each other, who just didn't have to text and call and make plans 6 months ahead of time. They just came over every day because they were outside together and they were sitting around the campfire and they were sharing their stories and they're sharing their histories, and they knew each other. They knew where each other came from. They knew where each other were going, and we don't do that anymore. Everyone's at home, swiping, scrolling on their phone, wondering why they feel so alone. And it was, get out of your house.
Exactly.
Open your doors, build a longer table.
That's absolutely. And I agree because, you know, I take myself for example. I went through a phase where I was feeling alone, and I said, you know what? Instead of sitting in this house and dreading, I started getting out, being in the community, volunteering in places, and you know things like that. And sure enough, I did start to feel a good energy come over myself. So if you're one of those people that, you know, just feel like you're alone, go out, take yourself out to eat. Go out to an event in your neighborhood or your community rather. And, you know, just enjoy yourself. Meet some new people. Even if you some people say, I don't have any friends, I don't have any family. Well, that doesn't mean that you get to stay home and, you know, pray about it. Well, you can pray about it, but the reality of it is it's still gonna equal to you having to go outside and actually build those connections. So you highlighted a great point on that, Jonna, because a lot of people they are stuck in those phones and, you know, building social media connections. And then, you know, when those people don't support their product, they're wondering why am I alone? Is because you're literally outcasting your own community. So get outside, y'all, go meet some people. And, you know, I'm not gonna say everybody's gonna be accepting and everybody's gonna be nice, but you will find your circle and you will find your people, but you got to give yourself that chance first.
Exactly. I have this, I don't have it on the board behind me, but I have this little sign hanging up in my office that says, do more of what makes you forget to look at your phone.
There you go. I like that. Oh, I like that.
I tend to like, I'll go do something for the whole week. I'll have a whole bunch of things I went to go do intentionally with people that I care about. And I'll get home and I'll say, oh, I'm going to post about this. And I'll look and I took like 3 pictures and they're all plant. And I'm like, oh, I forgot to take pictures because I was having such a good time being in the moment with people that I give a shit about.
Yeah.
You know, and maybe I don't have as much documentation of it, but I don't need it. I don't need it. You don't, I mean, you don't need it. You don't need to show somebody else how good of a time you had because it might just make them feel crappier sitting at home, right?
Exactly.
You know, sharing those stories with people. Go to an art show, right? Like, you don't know where there's an art show near you? Go on your phone and say, where's the art show near me? And just go there. Just go there. Support the people who are doing it out in the world. And you know what? You will probably be inspired to say, you know what? I have some stuff at my house, or I've always wanted to do this. I've always wanted to do that. Tell people those dreams. Somebody's going to say, hey, I know a place that you can do that. And they'll give you more friends. That's how you get them, you know?
Exactly. And, you know, for me, it was one of those things of where, you know, using coworkers even. Like if you're still working your 9 to 5, talk to your coworkers. You know, ask them, you know, what they do on the weekends, or ask them, do they want to go to happy hour or if they want to go out to eat. Like build connection, build community. Everything is not about a competition. We don't have to be mean to each other. You know, we can we heal literally by helping each other. So if you're literally sitting there saying with your hands folded and mad right now, just go outside. Step outside your front door. Your neighbor might be outside. Talk to them. Everybody has neighbors.
Mhm.
If again, co-workers, church, talk to your church members. Talk those inner circles that you're in. If you're not in any of those, then do what Janna said. Treat yourself to an event like an art show, or treat yourself to something that you know you've always wanted to do, but felt fearful to do. You never know who you may meet in the room while you're there.
Exactly. I mean, I'm always such a huge fan of the arts, right? Like
Mhm.
going to an art show, even like a teeny tiny local gallery. It doesn't need to be a big fancy art gallery that you have to pay to get in. Go to a small art gallery. They probably need your $5 more than anybody else does, right? Go there, support those artists. Go see live local music, original music. Like go and see those things. It's funny because like there's so many cover bands that play all over the place. Like not to knock a cover band, whatever, but people will go and pay more money to go see a cover band than they will to go see an original music band. And that cover band is playing songs that somebody else played as original music that got played on the radio, right? Like, how do those original songs come to fruition? It comes because people go see original music and say, damn, that shit is good. I'm going to tell somebody. And then more people go to that show. And then those musicians get they get discovered, and that's how it happens. And if you only go see music that you already know, that it's somebody else playing someone else's music, you're never going to discover anything new.
Exactly.
You might meet more people, but
Yeah.
it's not the best.
Exactly. Exactly. Y'all, we could spend hours because I love this topic, but for the sake of today's episode, I'm gonna move on because we need to talk about your awards and you working with global brands, and she's even worked with some celebrities, y'all. So we're gonna get to it. But let's talk about these prestigious awards you won and grants. How did those moments like the Ignite Buffalo grant or the Women in Manufacturing Award impact your business?
The Ignite grant changed the face of my business forever. I can't say enough about it. And for anyone who doesn't know, the Ignite grant was a specific program that was put in place here in Buffalo in 2018. And they got a big corporation to pony up the prize money for this pitch competition. They put $1 million total, but they split that grant into 27 different awards. And they did this pitch competition and they awarded 27 grants, ranging from $25,000 to $100,000. And all of those businesses were not startups. They were already established, small micro businesses, mom and pop shops, right? Kind of thing. People who had missions, people who had dreams of someday having an employee or adding to their team, and they made food and they made change and they made differences and they made art in our community. And they wanted to give those grants to businesses where that kind of money would change the face of that business forever. Because in the startup world, what's $25,000? It's like peanuts, right? In the startup world, $1 million, nothing. But seeing the effect that $1 million in grants, in funding and education had on my community here in Buffalo is why. If one billionaire took 1 billion of their dollars and split it up and did this program all across the United States, the amount of change they could make is unreal. It's unreal. I had two small kids when I won that grant. I had a 2.5-year-old and a newborn. And I make everything in my business by hand. And it was just me. And I was like, I see the potential in this business, but I physically do not have enough hours in the day to make all these things and work on this business at the same time. I just don't have it. And in order to grow this company, I need a leg up so that I can hire my first employee, train them how to make stuff so I can go do the stuff that I'm best at and tell the whole world how cool this is, right? And I won $25,000, and it came with a year of curated business mentorship. So when it came time where I was like, oh my God, I can finally hire my first employee, I also got to go to a workshop where I learned all of the things on how do you hire your first employee? What paperwork do you need to file? How do you do this and make sure that you're doing it properly and legally? And what do you need to put in place? How do you sign up for disability insurance? How do you sign up for paid family leave? How do you do those things? Right? Most people who start a business don't know shit about business. They're like, I have a cool idea and somebody told me I should sell it. And they just wing it for a long time. And then they realize that they were like, oh, I didn't know I had to keep these records. I didn't know I had to hang these posters on the wall, right? There's so many things about business that you just don't know until you do it well. And so providing access to that kind of education for the community, because it wasn't just for the people who won that grant either. It was, they did these programs a couple of times a week for an entire year, and they were all open to the public. There was free food. If you had kids, you could bring your kids. It was game changer. And it was just seeing the effect that it's had. There's one of the businesses that also won, she won $50,000 in that grant competition. 2 years later, I think it was maybe 2 or 3 years later, she went and did another local pitch competition and won $1 million. And now she has a national brand. That's the difference. It was like so many small women-owned businesses and businesses owned by people of color who are still in business today from 2018, which is insane, right? Made it through COVID, made it through Delta wave, made it through the recession, made it through all this crap for the last couple of years too. So many of those businesses, not only are they still here, but they are so much bigger. I've been able to have paid staff since 2018 because of that grant. Like, it paid for itself over and over and over again. So if there's anyone listening out there who has lots of money or knows someone who has lots of money, encourage them to create one of these programs. Because
Absolutely.
just the effect that $1 million is, in the grand scheme of our society, $1 million is nothing. It's nothing. But what you could do with it is unbelievable. So that was so much cooler than any of the other awards that I've won, because it was just such a game changer.
Oh, wow. And again, thank you for highlighting, because as you said, those millionaires and billionaires who come from these communities, especially, imagine if they came back to their communities and created grants and for smaller businesses. Now, we've seen several celebrities do this, but imagine if all celebrities did this. Imagine how many businesses there would be. And I still know a few businesses that started off and then COVID hit, and because they didn't have those grants out there and because they couldn't, wasn't nobody throwing money at them, they ended up going out of business. I right now in my city, a restaurant that's been in business for over 30 years just went out of business just because it's become so saturated. They couldn't pay employees anymore. So that was a great highlight that you just brought up, because just imagine if every billionaire invested $1 million into communities, how many smaller businesses could get those grants to help to sustain, to help them hire other people. So that's putting people back to work who may not have a job. And we know about the massive layoffs that are happening right now, y'all. So just celebrities, if you're watching, think about it. That's all we saying. Now, you did talk about the competition. So how did competing in that competition shape your visibility and your business strategy?
It was funny because I didn't realize like how much I had learned about pitching before I ever had a business. I used to work going door to door, raising money for the environment when I was like 19, 20 years old. And that kind of work is so hard, first of all, but it really gets you so good pitching, because you have 15 seconds for that person to slam that door in your face, right? We are, we do, we want. You got to get it out there, or they're going to slam the door and you're going to totally fail at doing what you're out there to do. But it made it so that I was also really comfortable with interacting with all sorts of people. Most people would think it's super awkward to go knock on somebody's door and try to ask them for money, right? It's awkward. But because I did it so young and I got so used to it, when it came time to say, do you want to do this pitch competition? Part of what you had to agree to is that if you are selected in the top 50, you have to come and you have to pitch live in person to a room full of business leaders. And so many people took one look at that application, saw that was a requirement, and were like, hell no, I can't do that. And for me, I was like, I would get the chance to tell a room full of people who can make the difference for me about my business. I will have a captive audience for 3 minutes of pitching and 5 minutes of questions. Sign me up. Right. And there's so many people who are just afraid to put themselves out there. They're afraid to tell someone that their business is awesome. They're afraid of public speaking, right? It's the number one fear, the number one above death. People would rather die than get on a stage and tell people how much they're awesome. That makes no sense to me, right? When I got picked to be in the top 50, I was so excited. And I went and I practiced my pitch, and I went all out on this pitch deck. It was chef's kiss, spot on. I orchestrated the whole thing, but I just had so much fun doing it. And I did my pitch. I said what I was going to say. And then they had 5 minutes to ask questions. And every question they asked, I was like jumping up and down and clapping my hands. I was so excited to tell them about this thing that I'm obviously so passionate and excited about. They were like, we want to get on this train. I'm all about this, right? I made them feel so. And after the pitches were over, they had all 50 people pitched back to back in one day. So these judges saw a lot, right? After that pitch competition, when they announced who the winners were, the judges came over and they told me, they said, out of all of the people who pitched today, all 50 teams that came to pitch today, you were the only one that looked like you were having a good time. And I was like, if you have a captive audience, if you have people who are in your target market who can offer you advice, they can, even if you don't get the money, right? They're going to give you feedback. They're going to know about your business. They might not give you the prize, but they might be your customer, right? They might know someone who's going to be your customer. And if they're in the business world, they're likely going to tell people, because that's what people in the business world do, right? We connect each other. We talk to each other, especially women. And why would you not take that opportunity? If you're not putting yourself in the line of fire for opportunity, then it's never going to hit you. You can't sit at home waiting for money to just fall in your lap. That does not happen. You have to apply so often that you only track the yeses, because that's how you win them.
Absolutely.
Opportunities, jobs, contracts, whatever. You got to go for it as much as humanly possible.
Absolutely. And a couple of my guests have used that word, have the audacity. You got to have the audacity when it comes down to your business. And you hit on that big word that it does, fear. Fear holds a lot of entrepreneurs back because they're scared of what others may think of them. They don't think that they're advanced enough, or they don't have the perfect product, or they're still tweaking here and there. You will never know what you need to fix if you never actually go out there and try it on somebody and let somebody tell you. A lot of people are afraid of negative feedback and backlash and things like that. So they stay away from stages, and walking in a room full of business leaders who are already successful. A lot of them may have went, oh no, I know I'm not even going to catch that person's attention, when in reality, a lot of these business owners are now turning into mentors and wanting to help people. So they can't help you if you're not actually reaching out, going out to these events and getting their feedback. And as she mentioned, a lot of them will become customers and reference you to other people in their industry, or if you share the same one, or they may even offer collaboration, even if they're not handing you a check. So you never know what you may get just by getting out your own way, basically.
Exactly. And I don't know, especially for women, right? It's not a good thing it hasn't historically been a good thing for women to be confident, right? They don't want us to be confident and powerful. The system is designed to make us feel less than, and that something is wrong with us, that we always need to fix something. And it's all about, what does this look like? What does this look like? Instead of, what can this do? right? That's what they are afraid of.
Absolutely.
They're afraid of women saying, hell no, I'm not going to do that anymore. It doesn't work for me, and I'm not going to work that way. And oh, look, COVID happened, and how many women were forced out of the workforce because they had to be at home doing virtual school with their kids or figuring out a way to care for their kids and still make some kind of money because their jobs just weren't willing to work with them and they couldn't do this and they couldn't do that. And what happened? Millions of women said, that system doesn't work for me. It only works if I work for free, and I'm not doing it. And millions of women started their own businesses. Millions. And now they're like, nobody wants to work. I'm like, nobody wants to work for someone who doesn't give a shit about them.
There you go. There you go.
And
I'm one of them.
we're over it.
I walked away from my 9 to 5 because I'm telling you, the way some of these systems are set up out here, y'all, it's literally set up, especially for women, for us to fail. It's set up for us never to get to that biggest promotion in our industry. In these 9 to 5s, it's always got to be a man that got to be the head. So, me, I walked away. I can't do this because it literally was leaning towards either being a person that I did not want to be or just an environment not made for women. And another great highlight is we have a lot of women out here who are being laid off right now and they hustling, y'all. They starting businesses that I see. I have a couple of ladies on my friends list who lost their jobs earlier this year. They've literally started getting on stages speaking about what they're going through. Some of them have become authors already. Y'all, you got to literally start to believe in yourself and get yourself out there, especially as a woman, because we're just going to be honest. They're never going to look at us how we look at ourselves. So we got to take our power where we have those opportunities, y'all.
Yeah. And in the traditional business world, like I've said, it works because of the unpaid labor of women. And women are building a world that works for women. And when women are leaders, the whole world wins, right? When women are leaders, men can also take time off to spend time with their children. Men can take time to go to therapy, which they all need, right? Do they need it? Everybody needs it. But what? Practice your emotions, okay? There's no need for this. That's not how we're supposed to operate. Obviously, the way that y'all been setting it up is not working. It doesn't work. The system does not work. And I think that what's happening in our world right now is really scary for so many people because they're like, this is the way we've always done it. And they don't know that something better or something different is possible. And they're afraid that this current system is falling apart. It is falling apart, right? They shook it from the foundations and it is falling apart. And all of the cracks and the things that supposedly held this up to make this big, huge, rich dude at the top. All the people at the bottom are like, that doesn't work for me. I'm walking away. And it's if you were to go to a concert and people are crowd surfing, what happens if the crowd walks away? The person surfing on the top falls on the ground, right? The people are not supporting them anymore. And that's happening. And a friend of mine talked about, it was like 4 years ago. We had this conversation and I think about it like almost every day. But she was talking about way back in the day, like the internet and phone service and phone lines and telecommunication was developed so that militaries and separate countries, the governments of separate countries and their militaries could communicate with each other across the world. That's why they developed it. But there was a whole crew of people whose job it was to hang those wires, put up those poles and hang those wires so that communication could happen. None of those people had any clue what they were doing, why they were doing it, or how that telecommunication system was going to shape the future for generations, right? They were just the wire hangers. They were building that infrastructure. They were building that system for the future to live on. And I think in the way that they did that for digital communication, that our generations right now, millennials, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, like we're the wire hangers for a different type of society. We are putting those things in place to help people learn how to care for each other and care for this planet. Because the fact that the planet is getting wild and is taking people out in mass is not a coincidence. the more that we take advantage of this earth, the more that we treat the earth like shit. She's like, you think you can take me down? Not happening. I will take you all before that.
Exactly.
And we're going to have to learn how to go back to being interdependent on each other, like how the forest is, right? The things in the forest rely on each other to survive. And we pretend like we don't do that. Like we don't all need to breathe air. Like we don't all need to drink water. Like we don't all get real hot when it's 200 degrees outside, right? We are going to need to figure out how to share resources and take care of each other, because if not, we're all going down.
Absolutely. That was
More than that, we are the wire hangers. And so for anyone who's listening to this, if you're feeling defeated and you're feeling like hopeless about the future, just remember that the powers that be don't fight so hard to maintain control if they're not afraid they're about to lose it. They're fighting so hard right now because they're losing.
Yep.
They're losing because we have been building this world that is better. We are building that infrastructure where women are powerful, where men are taught to have their emotions and feel their emotions and to respect women. We are building that world right now. We are raising our children to not behave that way and
exactly.
to care for each other.
Absolutely.
And aren't the difference between like our parents' generation to how we, because they were like, that wasn't working. We need to do something better. And we're teaching our children, oh, even the way that we were raised wasn't working. And y'all need to do something better. I can't not think about the way that my kids are going to operate in the world and the way that they're going to make change because of the things that I've set in place in my life. So keep hanging the wires, y'all.
Absolutely.
Be the wire hanger.
Oh, I love that. Be the wire hanger, y'all, because she's absolutely right. The current generations, they are stepping out there from millennials on down. We used our own personal upbringings in a lot of those cases and said, not this generation. So we are stepping out there, and I honestly can't wait to see what the world looks like 20 years from now from all the things that we're doing because we're giving women confidence. We're giving men that opportunity to show that they can have emotions. And we're just it's using that word healing. And with healing means letting people be their authentic selves, letting people come out and tell their stories. You never know who you may inspire. That means something, y'all. That's how you create community. That's how the society gets better. It literally takes understanding every single side and even, creating these programs for children to be their authentic selves and creating these art programs for kids to start in elementary and junior high school. So once they do get to college, they can get those scholarships and go and get those degrees or go into art programs or if they choose not to go off to college. So you highlighted a great aspect of this generation. I'm just so happy to be a part of the millennial generation because we literally took it on our backs, y'all, and we've been carrying it ever since. So I'm just thankful that the other generations fall in line with us and agreed with us because it needed a lot of change and a lot of the systems were very outdated, y'all, especially for women and children.
It's so crazy that like in my lifetime, I just turned 44. In my lifetime, women became able legally to get a business loan without a man co-sign. In my lifetime, 1988.
There you go.
Think about how different the world is between 1988 and now for women.
Yep.
Yeah, in the last 5 years, crap, right? They're fighting hard to take it back.
Yep.
They are afraid. They are afraid.
Yep.
What happens when women have?
Absolutely.
They are terrified.
Absolutely.
So much so that they will do whatever they can to take our autonomy back.
Sure.
Whether it's eliminating the amount of money that women can borrow for student loans to pursue professional degrees, right? That's the latest crap. The latest crap that they put into place, right? So now, and they did it for only industries where women tend to be successful and make high salaries.
Yep.
Nursing, right? So now, if you don't have $400,000 to get a nursing degree, if you can't find $400,000, you can't borrow $400,000 anymore.
Yep.
But all these degrees that typically are male degrees, they can borrow whatever they want. It's crazy. So
It,
just remember, the system is designed to keep us down.
absolutely. Absolutely. And y'all, me and John, we can stay here and preach about this and
All day.
because I'm telling y'all, we got to make women realize they literally trying to take our freedom away from us, from what we can do with our bodies to what we can major in. I'm a person that was just in counseling, lost my entire scholarship because literally the day that they were supposed to approve everything, that whole agency shut down, all because of the new rules. And she mentioned nursing, but it's counseling, it's different degrees in psychology, it's social work, and those are all nurturing type fields that women excel in. So if you think that society is still in favor of women or is gonna lean towards women, I'm here to tell you we're gonna have to fight y'all because they really are trying to take everything from us.
Exactly. I have a line in one of my songs that says, "Feminism isn't done or won. This fight is never finished."
Absolutely.
You let off the gas for 5 seconds, like we did in the early 2000s. We're like, oh, women got it good now. We can do everything. We don't
Mhm.
need to fight anymore. And look what happens, right? You can never let off the gas.
Absolutely. Never. So y'all better keep y'all feet on the gas. Now, I've told y'all that Janna has worked with several brands and even a couple of celebrities. So let's bring up the first one, Lowe's. Now everybody knows Lowe's. So you had to create 500,000 seed bombs. That's right, 500,000. That means it's 500,000 less than a million. Y'all, I'm not exaggerating. How did you manage to produce that while still keeping true to your work and making it meaningful?
That job was crazy. It was right in the beginning of the Delta wave of COVID, January 2021, when I got the phone call. And the company that hired us had a contract with Lowe's for their spring garden giveaway event. But we didn't know that. They called us and they said, would it be possible to make 500,000 seed bombs by March? Meanwhile, it's like my mom's birthday, of course. Yeah, not an accident. But they called January 19th and they said, would it be possible to make these by March? Most people would have been like, crazy. No. But I was like, define possible. How much money you have? And they said, send us a bid. I did. I sent them a bid on Monday. By Wednesday, they approved it. And I said, I need half up front so I can hire people, buy equipment, buy materials, and get cracking like today. By Wednesday, I had $150,000 in my bank account.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I hired 70 temporary employees. We worked 14 hours a day, 7 days a week, the entire time. And we delivered them on time on the day that they were due, half an hour before the factory closed. We
That's
made like 15 to 20,000 seed bombs by hand every single day for 2 months.
wow. And go ahead.
Yeah, it was probably the most wild experience of my entire life. But I had always had this dream, like even since I was in college at 20 years old, coming up with the idea of I want to have this this paper art company that makes a difference in the world. I know I can do that. And to actually have this company come and say, yeah, we're going to give you this opportunity to have a huge team and run a huge team full of people who are all working hard as hell all day, every day towards this common goal. And I had high school students who worked their first job ever after school. I had tons of immigrants who didn't speak English at all, who we were able to train, who worked alongside like people who came from a temp agency who had to quit their jobs because of COVID. There was artists and musicians who couldn't go out and gig and do art shows because everything was shut down for COVID. And like we had all of those people working arm in arm. There was moms who could escape after the friggin' virtual school debacle. Like in those couple of hours that somebody else was with their kids, they would come over and they could work and they could make some money to help fix up their house or buy groceries or pay off some debts or maybe treat themselves a little bit, right? And all of these people were just working right alongside each other toward the same goal all day, every day. And I had one woman tell me, she was in her 70s, and she came out of retirement because she was really lonely during COVID all by herself. And she went to the temp agency and signed up to work. And they sent her over and she comes in and I was like, oh, what's up, Linda? Let's get you the most comfortable chair we have. Cause she was like this little old lady. And at the end of that job, there was a couple days where she was like, I have to go to the doctor or I feel sick. I'm like, it's cool, Linda. You do you. Yeah, I only want you here if you're feeling good about being here. Take care of yourself. Come back when you're ready and I'll have a chair for you. And so she would come when she could come. And at the end of that job, she said to me, I've had so many jobs in my life, but this is the only one where I actually felt like my boss cared about me as a person.
Oh,
And like doing that job, I got to pay out over $100,000 in salary to people in 2 months.
that's amazing. That's amazing.
And just being able to do that, like being able to run this team and to have all these people like work efficiently together all day and every day. We kept people safe. Nobody got sick. It was like Delta wave of COVID and not one person got COVID in that situation. We were like in relatively tight quarters and we checked everyone's temperature. Everybody had a mask. We sanitized everything multiple times a day. We aired out the space and it was winter in Buffalo. So it was cold, right? And we figured out how to make it work. And we did the impossible together in the trenches. We did the impossible. And then we delivered that. My husband actually drove the truck full of them to Chicago to the factory where they were assembling these biodegradable piñatas. They put the seed bombs in these cardboard piñatas that they had ordered. And those piñatas were given away at Lowe's Spring Garden giveaway all across the United States.
Oh, wow.
But
It-
none of us knew what they were doing with all these seed bombs while we were making.
oh,
All
wow.
we knew is that they had each different color had a different seed in it. And they were designed to be things that were pollinator friendly, which we use anyway. They needed them to be non-toxic and made in the USA, which we do anyway. And they were just 100% recycled paper, pollinator friendly seeds. That's it. And it was so on brand for us to be able to do this kind of thing. And the material that we ordered, the recycled paper we ordered in different colors, is already non-toxic. And we were thinking, like, how are we going to package these things to ship them to this factory? We used the same boxes that the material came in, and we filled them back up with seed bombs. And we didn't buy new boxes. We just kept using the same ones, and we packaged them up, and we labeled them, and we taped them shut, and we put them in the reduce, reuse. It was like at the core of everything that we do normally. And I was like, why operate any way that's different? And whenever I tell people that we did this job, they're like, how did you hire so many people? How did you get so many people so quick? And I was like, I paid them a reasonable wage. This is 2021, and I was offering $15 an hour immediate start. Come today. You got two hands, you could come. If you have one hand, I'll try to figure it out, right? It's kind of difficult to make that without two hands, but really that was the only qualification. We'll train you. Come, show up. $15 an hour, immediate. And so many people had been hustling. This is Buffalo, right? We do not have, it took a long time. Our minimum wage, I think, it's finally over 15. So at the time, 6 years ago, 5 years ago, hiring people at $15 an hour with no experience whatsoever, high school kids getting to come after school and make $15 an hour was a game changer for so many people. And I was like, I don't care. I want to have people who want to be here, who feel respected, who feel cared for, who feel like trading their time for this amount of money to do this project is worth it for them. It's worth being away from their families to come and work because they feel like they're cared for. And I was like, how could you do anything else? How could you operate a company in any other way? And that's just how I roll.
Oh my gosh, let's give her a round of applause because I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of people that took that $150,000 and went and bought a machine that could have produced that and profited the rest of it in their pocket. But you took it and you gave it back to your community by creating jobs and giving people opportunities. High school kids, a lot of high school kids be looking for that first level of independence, and a lot of them don't want to do fast food. So that was another great option for them. And I'm so happy that they came. And I'm so happy you included them in that discussion because in my area, there are a lot of lawn services and door knocking services that a lot of these high school kids are signing up for, and it's not paying a minimum wage, starting them off at $15 an hour. And the highlight of the older lady, that just tells you there was no discrimination, y'all. The immigrant.
It just was not. It was like There was a couple of people that we brought in from the temp agency who came in and worked for a day or two and they're like, this is not for me. And I was like, it's fine. It's the same way that I operate when if somebody doesn't get what I'm trying to do, it's not their problem. It's not my fault. They're just not my customer, right? Like it, it's not worth my time. So if somebody's coming to work and they don't enjoy that work and they don't want to work there, cool, power to you. Go find the thing that lights you up, right? Making things out of paper pulp is not for everyone, right? It's a weird texture. And there's people who walked in the door, took one look at what we were doing, like, that's gross, I'm not touching that amount. Because it's paper pulp. It's wet. It's mushy. But then there's other people who come in, they're like, oh my God, I love putting my hands in there. They love it. The tactile people were like, this is great. And I was like, as long as you come and you respect the other people that work here and you work hard, I don't care. Show up.
Wow.
I got room for you.
Oh,
It was so cool.
I love that. And not only has she worked with Lowe's, y'all, she's also worked with Lionel Richie of Earth, Wind and Fire. And let's talk about can you walk us through the process of how you attract these major brands and high profile clients while still maintaining your artistic vision?
I think it's honestly, SEO is great. Networking is great. And it's about who you know and how does your brand show up when people find it? How do people find it? And if I want to have more corporate clients, I need to meet more people who run businesses. I need to connect with more people who run businesses. I need to make sure that the SEO and the GEO on my website states that we work with large and mid-sized brands. Here's the kind of things we do: corporate gifting, luxury gifting, corporate swag, right? Team building, custom projects, that kind of thing. It's like people searching for those things then end up on my website because that's what we tell the internet that we do. Yes, I'm huge on having tactile, physical things and interacting with people in person, right? That number one, there is no advertising that works better than meeting someone in person and having them fall in love with you and your brand, right? That is the best. It's the best way to connect with somebody. But I have 3 small kids. I can't be out at a networking event. I can't be traveling and doing trade shows and rubbing elbows with rich people every day. I can't do that every day, right? That is not the life that I want to be living right now. Sure, traveling sometimes, but I don't want to do that. I don't want to have that hustle culture that doesn't fit what makes me feel good in my life. That's not what I want. So I do the next best thing. I make sure that we show up in the places where my target market hangs out. And I do PR. That works for me. Getting our brand in front of other people who will want to hire us, right? So we connected with a couple of some of our clients are like luxury marketing brands that they connect with big clients and then they outsource things to us and we make things for them. So that's partly how we got connected with some of our clients like that. But really, it's just about who you know. And I remember the reason we got that job making those plantable records for Lionel Richie and Earth, Wind and Fire is because this young woman who worked for like a local blog wrote an article about me and my company in 2019, like ages ago. And then she got a job working at the Key Bag Center, which is a big arena where they host big concerts. And she was in their gifting department for the people who come and perform at the place. And she's, hey, we have Lionel Richie, who I've seen on his Instagram, loves to garden. He loves being in his garden and showing off his flowers. And can you think of some kind of thing you can make that he would get in the green room and that he would remember and notice as a gift from our department? And I was like, oh, I got you. And I was like, what if we make plantable records? Looks just like a record, but it's all made out of paper and it's got seeds in it. What if we did that? She's like, what? You can do that? I was like, probably. And we figured out how to do it.
Oh, wow.
So I love that. That's my favorite thing, the creative problem solving. No matter what the job is, no matter who the client is, there's always creative problem solving between me and my team. Client comes in and says, this is our thing. They were like, okay, Lionel Richie is our client. How can we reach him? How can we show that we notice the things that he cares about? How do we make him feel seen? How do we connect with him? Because that was their goal. And I was like, oh, here's how we could do that. Let's think of this. Can we make these things? If we're going to make them, how do we make them? Is it similar to something we did before? How much time might that take? Let's go back and look at our records, see what kind of materials we used, what kind of time frame it took so we can price things accurately to do something that we've never done before. And there's a lot of kind of having those systems in place and keeping your records straight, keeping your documents together and say, I can go back. And I've been officially making things and selling things to people since 2013. So all my records of every job I've ever done, I have them at my fingertips. And I can go on and I can open up my program and say, yep, that's the name of the client. Here's what we did. Here's the materials we used. Here's how long it took. And if there's any notes on it, like this was difficult, or here next time we should do this instead, it would save time, blah, 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 blah. I have all of that ready to go at any time. So when someone's like, can you make this crazy thing? And I'm like, that's kind of like this thing that we did. But also add in this thing that we did. But maybe add this thing and these things that we've learned since we did those other things. And we've gotten better. We've gotten more efficient. We learned what works and what doesn't work. We're not afraid to say yes and do some trial and error and figure it out. And it's so much fun every day to just be like, people come up and they're like, that, but our competitors all say, we can never do that. That's not possible. And I'm like, but what if it was? Define possible. It's like I said to that company when they called us, can you make 500,000 seed bombs? Define possible. How much money you got?
Hey,
Oh, possible. Just about anything is possible.
Janna said, put it on. I bet you I reach it. The thing about her, y'all, she's not afraid of a challenge. And that's what I love about her. Put me to the test. I'll show you that it can be done. With the 500,000 seed bombs for Lowe's, she figured out a way, y'all. She is a system builder. And just being able, once again, going back to the real reason why you started this company, and that's the compassion for others and caring about others and wanting to make others happy. I'm going to go Lionel Richie page and see if I can find that, because I think I remember him posting it. I just can't remember when he posted it, but I think I remember that. And it was one of the most beautiful things I had ever seen in my life. And y'all, I'm telling you, that's literally what purpose is. Taking a chance on yourself, seeing what your audience is really craving, doing what's necessary for your audience, and then still holding that compassion and being of character and building that reputation and portfolio like Janna has, that brings in those high profile people like celebrities. I've seen smaller businesses, just by their character and their care for the community, have celebrities say, I'm not going to charge you anything to come speak at your event because of what you're doing for the community. And I'm telling y'all, that's literally how it works. You got to build that network and still stay true to the real reason why you started the company. And eventually, you never know what room you may be in. You might be in the room with a legend, y'all.
Exactly. You got to be in it to win it. And I'm a yes person. I would rather say yes to something and fail hard than to say no and never know if I could have done it. And like when that company called us and they were like, can you do this? I said to my husband, I was like, babe, I got to try this. I have to say yes to this. Even if I can't, if it turns out that I try to do it and I fail, I have to say yes to it. And he was like, I don't know if you could even do this. This is crazy, blah, blah, this, whatever. And I was like, I don't need that from you. I was like, I need none of that from you. What I need you to do is say, I got these kids. You're amazing. You're beautiful. And you got this. And I was like, I'll see you in 2 months. I'm going to be at work all day, every day for 2 months. And you got these kids.
Oh, wow. And y'all, that's another area I can stay in all day. And y'all know that. But we're going to walk once again because we got to get to, because I know a lot of people are wondering, when are you going to start teaching? And you guys, she's actually launched a course on creative entrepreneurship. What key lessons do you teach artists about balancing art and business in this course?
So yeah, the course is called The Art of Business and the Business of Art, and it's available on my website. And the main thing that I teach in this course is how to be your own biggest fan. Because it's all being a successful artist is all about the mindset. It's all about overcoming that starving artist mindset where the world says, you love what you do, how dare you also get paid for it? And just because you are enjoying making art doesn't mean that you should give it away for free.
Yeah.
That is not the way it works. People hire you to make art because they cannot do it themselves.
Yep.
They cannot or will not and do not want to learn how to do it themselves in general. That's why people buy art. It makes them feel something that they can't get on their own. You have skills, you have expertise other people do not have. And so often, artists will be asked to do things for exposure. Do it for exposure. So many people will see you. So many people will know what you're doing. You'll get so much business from this, blah, 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 blah. That's a load of crap. Don't do it. Don't do it. My high school band teacher, Mr. Parazzini, drilled that into us every single day. He's never do things for exposure. People die of exposure.
Yep. Yeah.
Out in the cold. That's what you get when you do things for exposure. And you have to be your own biggest fan. If you're not shouting from the rooftops about how friggin' awesome you are and how amazing your art is and why it means something, and you're not telling that story to every single person you come across who might listen, why would anybody else do that for you? And like when I went and did that pitch competition, right? I was the only person out of all 50 people who pitched their business who actually seemed happy and excited to tell a room full of people about their business. I was like, how could anybody be like that and still have a business, right?
You
Be the thing that lights you the hell up.
Yeah.
And there's so many people who have listened to someone in their life who said, you know, that's a pipe dream. Don't try to pursue that thing. You'll just fail. Or you could never make money doing that. Or that's not worth doing because you can't make millions of dollars doing that. Or don't take that as your college major because there's no money in that. Or whatever. But the more that our society as it was set up is unfolding, the more that we are realizing that, as the Beatles say, money can't buy you love, right? If you don't love what you're doing, if it's not the thing that you're still going to want to do in the times where you can only afford to pay your staff and not yourself, it's not worth doing.
There you go.
Not worth doing. I'm not saying that you have to pay yourself every single second because that's the life of an entrepreneur, right? It's going to happen. One life you might have to cut your own check in order to keep that business alive. I am not lying about how this is difficult. Creative entrepreneurship is the hardest kind of entrepreneurship because you're doing it because it matters. Mission-driven businesses are the same thing as creative businesses. All creative businesses are mission-driven businesses. They do it because they care.
Absolutely.
They do it because it matters. And you are probably going to make less profit sometimes because you are operating in a way that cares for yourself, that pursues a passion, that does something that's good for the world. But it's worth it because my bandmate has this line in one of my favorite songs that we play. He says, don't get fooled into feeling that money is the most important thing you can make because it's really not. It's not. You can make a difference. You can make a connection. You can make change. And all those things are better than money. Yeah, you want to have enough money to buy food. You want to have enough money to have a roof over your head, right? But in general, there are only 5 things that you need to survive in this world, right? You need food, you need water, you need shelter, you need someone that loves you, and something that drives you. That's it. Everything else is dessert.
I love that. And you definitely hit on that key aspect of true entrepreneurship. And most companies would tell you the first couple of years they may have broke even or even took losses those first couple of years, but they kept going. And that's what you have to do when it comes to entrepreneurship. This month you may be able to afford all your bills, but because sales are down next month, you may have to cut your own check and pull from your own bank account just to keep that business going. And you definitely hit on that key point of it being in creativity and art, because a lot of people look at it as a hobby, when in reality, these people are actually taking their time and putting so much effort into making something that they know is going to inspire or help somebody overcome. And another area where it's becoming popular is in therapy. A lot of people feel like therapists and psychiatrists and psychologists and even life coaches should be doing it for free. Why? Because you're being of service and helping people get help. But y'all tend to forget that those are people that done been to school, got those degrees, they got student loans, and they do have to put a roof over their family heads and provide food. So be more compassionate, y'all, when it comes to entrepreneurs out here, because I'm telling you, especially on that artist and mental health side, they're putting their all into what they're giving y'all, and they deserve every dollar that they get. Now,
Sure. And it's crazy because, like, although in the course, it's not only just about the mindset piece, right? There is a whole section in it about that. And there's a section in it that's about really thinking in like a heady way about your creative process. Is the type of art that you want to do the thing that fills you with joy? Is it the kind of thing that you're still going to want to be doing at 4 o'clock in the morning when your kids have to go to school at 6 because you have 10 orders that you need to fill and it's just you? Is that sustainable for your life, right? What does success as a creative person actually look like for you? Yeah, I could hustle. I could be working 80 hours a week, slinging all sorts of different kinds of art, but that's not the life that I want to live. I want to be able to go to my kids' school and see their performance. I want to be able to take a vacation with my family and take orders for a couple of weeks a year. I want that kind of freedom. And I pull back the reins on growing my company because my kids are small and I don't want to have my growth sacrifice my integrity. That's not what I'm all about, right? So there's a lot in my course about really thinking about your creative practice. Is it something you even want to monetize? Because it might be the kind of thing that as soon as you're doing it because someone's paying you to do it, you lose all the motivation to want to do it because you're not doing it for them. You're doing it for you. And maybe that's the kind of art you just need to make for you. Right. And it's really thinking about that part of your business. And a lot of times people say, oh, you're good at that. You should monetize it. You should sell that thing because it's beautiful and this and that. And you're good at it. But I'm really good at going door to door. But that's not the thing that fills me with joy. And I don't want to do that. Just because I'm good at it doesn't mean that's the kind of thing that I want to monetize. Right. So same thing with like, I love playing music. I love being on the stage. And if somebody wanted to pay my band a bunch of money to go play some shows, I would do it. But being a professional musician and touring around is not going to fit my lifestyle. So I was like, which of my creative practices is the kind of thing that I could monetize in order to fit the lifestyle that I have in my life? What is actually sustainable for me in my life? And I was like, I have 3 small kids. Am I going to be living on a tour bus? No. Some people might want to do that and bring their kids on the tour bus and homeschool their kids, but that's not the life that I want for them. And that's not the life I want for me. So that's not the creative practice that I'm trying to pursue for my living. And so there's a lot in the course that really helps to figure that stuff out. And then there's also all the nitty gritty. Here's what you need to actually start a business. Here's the paperwork you need. Here's how to think about pricing your work. How much does your time cost? And that's the number one thing that I hear from so many artists and so many crafters and so many artisans. They're like, I could never charge for my time because nobody would pay it. Not if you don't ask them.
exactly.
And I was like, people 100% will pay for that time if you ask them and they are your customers. If
Absolutely.
people aren't willing to pay for your time, they are not your customer. Next.
There you go. There you go.
So the course has lots of stuff in it. There's hours and hours of videos. There's a 50+ page workbook in it that has an entire list of grants for artists by state in it. And we take a portion of the proceeds from the course, and I created a fund called the Mama Birdie Child Care Fund, where we're figuring out a way to provide childcare at professional development events so that more moms can learn to be better leaders. Because when women lead, the whole world wins.
Oh, I love that. And y'all, we're going to make sure that we get all that information on how you can sign up for the courses at the end of today's episode. Now, we're getting closer to the end of today's meeting, and I want to talk about your work in advocacy. Now, how do leadership roles, because you currently sit on a big board out here, how has these leadership roles intersect with your entrepreneur journey?
I can't say enough about NABA, the National Association of Women Business Owners. I joined it when I was a little tiny baby business owner. I got pushed out of my job after I had my first son because they wouldn't allow me to work. And they said, you have to come back into the office after your maternity leave or figure something else out. And I was like, you don't pay me enough to cover healthcare and daycare, so I guess I'm going to figure something else out. And it was terrifying. I had a huge mortgage. I had no health insurance. We had the added cost of a baby and his health insurance. And we bought a commercial building. We had a 5-year mortgage and we were 2 years in. And all of a sudden I had no paycheck. And we had huge expenses. I was like, what am I supposed to be doing right now? And my husband said, it's cool. We'll figure it out. Just stay home and do your book thing. Do your book thing. Like it was like a cute little thing. But I had a tenant in our building, another woman business owner. She had a construction company that was our tenant in our space. And she said, have you heard about NAWA? And I was like, what are you talking about? And it's the National Association of Women Business Owners. We have a chapter here in Buffalo and it's awesome. You should come and check it out and meet all these other women who run businesses. And at the time I was like, Sue Ellen, I can't afford it. I can't afford to go to that event. I can't afford to buy a ticket. I can't add any expenses. I need to bring money in. I can't put money out. And she's, I'll buy you a ticket. Because that's what women do. She bought me a ticket and she opened that door. She brought me into that room. Not even just opened the door, but physically brought me into that room. When I had a tiny baby at home and I was learning how to be a mom and trying to learn how to run a business for real that I'd been wanting to do for over a decade, and it sat on my shelf. And she brought me into that room and I walked in and I was like, oh, people, they're all here. And being in a room full of type A boss women, over 100, I think at the time that event she brought me to, there was over 200 women, all women business owners, collective number of years of experience running businesses in that room literally makes my hair stand up. I get goosebumps all over when I think about the challenges that those women faced already, the networks they've already built, the problems they've already solved, and how willing they are to reach their hand out and pull me up the ladder. And I was like, I can't believe I get to be in this room. Look at how much of a difference these women are making for all of the people around them. And when you walk into that room, they're all saying, oh my God, I love what you do. How can I help you? Who do you need to know? What can I do to help you? And all networking is not created equal, right? We've all been to those networking events where you walk in the room and you're like, damn, all these people want something from me. And when you go to a novel event, you walk in the room and you're like, all these people genuinely want to see me succeed. And they're willing to share their resources, share their network, buy you a ticket to get you in the door. Say, who do you need to know? Who can I connect you with? How can I send an email introduction? How can I help you get an insurance agent? How can I help you solve this problem? What are you stuck on in your business that you need help with? How can I get you there? And they do it over and over again. And after that first event that I went to, I remember looking at how much the membership was for the year. And at the time, to have the premier membership and attend all the meetings was about $500 for the year. And I looked at it and it was like, my business the year before that, because I had it as a little side gig before I quit my job. Before that, I made about $2,500 because it was my side gig, right? And it's like $500 when your annual revenue is $2,500 is a lot. It's a lot. And I said to myself, I'm going to make this investment in myself. I am going to pull $500 out of my 401k and I'm going to pay for this membership. And I'm going to make sure that my husband can watch the baby. And I'm going to go to every single one of these meetings. I'm going to show up early. I'm going to stay late. I'm going to meet as many people as possible. I'm going to give it everything I got for 1 year. And if it doesn't push the needle in my business, if it doesn't make a difference, worst case scenario amount $500. And I did it. It was terrifying. And within 1 month, it had paid for itself over and over again. And clients and connections and education and resources and support and friendship and mentorship, just over and over again. And after being a member for a year and really showing up and showing them that I'm not quitting, I'm here. And they said, we love you and we love that you bring this energy and you have a totally different perspective from most of the people who end up in these rooms. Do you want to serve on the board? And I was like, not only do you want me to be in this room and that you accept me and you see my weird, crazy business and you don't think it's a weird, crazy business and you say, this is amazing, I want to tell everyone I know about it, but you care what I think. You want me to help steer this organization to be better and serve more women. You think I could be a leader? You believe in me that way? And I was like, hell yes, I'll do it. And at that point, I was pregnant with my second baby, and my first term on the board, like, I had a newborn. I brought my baby in a baby carrier to those board meetings because I didn't have a babysitter. And they loved him, and they loved my babies, and I would bring them to all our board meetings, and they knew me, they knew my life, and cared what I thought. And I helped to steer that organization. And when 2019, 2020 came, and I was like, you know what? I love this organization, but the faces I see in this room don't reflect the faces of the women business owners that I know in my community. There are not nearly enough diverse women in this room. There's not nearly enough diverse women on this board. We need to serve all women business owners. How do we do that better? And we formed a task force and said, this is our mission. We need to make sure that more people with different perspectives feels comfortable and welcomed and safe to come here, that know about us, that they know that we even exist and that they want to come here. How do we do that? How do we get more women who are young business owners in this room? How do we get more women of color? How do we get women with disabilities? How do we tell people about invisible disabilities and make sure that those people feel safe and respected and taken care of in this room? How do we serve the needs that we can make this change happen in this organization? And we did that. And then the national organization is, hey, that's great. Can we take that blueprint that you did there and do this nationally? And then they instituted that one of their goals as an organization was to be the number one the most diverse women's business organization.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, all because one woman believed that I could be a leader, believed that I had the power to succeed, and brought me in that room.
Talk about girls.
It truly is a sisterhood. You walk in and they're like, I got your back. They don't even know your name, and they're like, I got your back.
Wow.
We're in this together. Lift as we climb. That's one of their slogans. And I've gone to national events with NAVO too, and it's the same feeling in every room. That is the thread that connects it all together. Every chapter is different. Every city is different. The way people operate is different, but that feeling is the same. And NAVO taught me how to be a leader, and NAVO opened the door for me to get that Ignite grant. They told one of my NAVO sisters said, hey, I've heard about this grant. This is a great fit for you. You should apply for it. I did, and I won it. Right. And it has just opened so many doors for me, and just the friendships and the connections and the support of women that I've met through this organization is just unmatched. And I am able to lead my team. I have the confidence and the skills and the know-how to be a leader in my community because they believed in me. And it showed me not just that I had the power to do that, but how much of a difference women can make when they learn how to be better leaders and when they show up to be leaders in the right way, where it's servant leadership. I'm here to serve. I am here to support other women, to build something better that really and truly is inclusive for everyone. And like, I get to do that. I get to do that. And when I was a little baby business owner, did I think that I would be able to do that? I had dreams of someday that'd be cool, but I didn't think that I would really be able to do that until someone said, what do you mean? You have so much to give and so much that other people can learn. And they gave me a seat at the table. So I can't not be an advocate for helping other women to be leaders. And that's why I started my Mama Birdie Childcare Fund. Because that is the one major hurdle, is that women with small kids aren't able to attend those events. They can't go. And even if you go and you bring your kids, you really can't focus on what's happened. because you got one eye on the kid and one eye on the presentation, right? And you're like, oh, my kid is crying, they're interrupting other people, blah, blah, blah. You're not focused. So I want to be able to figure out a way, similar to when you go to the gym and you drop your kids off in the daycare at the gym. I want to have professional networking that's like that.
Oh, wow. And
Wouldn't that be game changer?
yeah,
Find a babysitter. You don't need to pay for a babysitter. You just bring your kids, you drop them off in the kids' room, and all of those kids, not only do they get to be near their mother, they get to have a community of other kids whose mothers are boss as hell. Other mothers who are pursuing things that matter to them, who are making change in the world, who are being leaders. That's how you make change. You create those spaces, right? Don't host a networking event and then try to build a daycare in that space. Host a networking event at a space that already has a daycare.
there you go. Love that. I love that. Oh,
So,
wow.
I'm on my soapbox today.
And that just, the whole conversation, it just made me so happy because it gives me hope because there are girls out there that we have to lean on each other sometimes. And just to hear that you had a friend that took that financial risk and invested in you and you took it and did what you needed to do to make sure that financial investment she made into you didn't go in vain. And literally now sitting on the board and now creating rooms for people like me, people of color. It it means a whole lot, because I'm telling you, people are so used to walking into these mean girl spaces and you have to beg or plead for that advice. So anybody that's looking for that safe space to land, I'm definitely going to make sure at the end of today's episode, Janna tells y'all about the organization one more time, just so y'all can sign up if y'all are interested, because I honestly don't even think we have a chapter here in Alabama.
I think there's one near there, but there's 50 chapters across the United States, but they also have a virtual chapter option if there isn't one that's close by. But if you have your own community of women business owners near you, there's no reason why you couldn't start one.
There y'all go.
And
And
they
I'm
have tools and resources on their website to help you figure out how many people do you need, what things do you need, what leadership do you need to be able to create your own chapter too.
absolutely. And I'm definitely going to look into that because I don't think we have one here in my area. So that'll be another thing I can just bring to Alabama because we don't have a lot of things, y'all. Now, we're going to move on because I real deal want to talk about lessons. What has been the most unexpected lesson you've learned from either art, entrepreneurship, or motherhood? What's the biggest lesson, unexpected lesson?
Unexpected lesson. I think for me, it's about leadership. It has to come back to leadership, right? The unexpected lesson is that I had this dream of I would like to be an artist and not be broke. That's what I started out with. I want to figure out a way to do this cool creative thing that I really love and enjoy that's meaningful for people. And I don't want to be poor. How do I do that? That's where I started. And to happen upon this whole community of other women and becoming a mother and then realizing that so many things are expected of women, expected of mothers. We have to parent like we don't have a job. We need to have a job like we don't have kids. We need to look beautiful. We need to be skinny, but not too skinny. We need to be kind. We need to be assertive, but not too assertive because you a bitch, right? It's, oh, you got to do this and make sure you do your self-care, but you can't afford self-care. But you better not spend money on yourself because that's selfish. And you better always need to be fixing your wrinkles and you can't get old and you got to have big boobs, but not too big because if you feed your baby with them, then you're disgusting, right? There's so many ways for women to not support each other. And like you were saying, there's so many rooms with the mean girls. And the more that I think about women and our role in society, and it's the way that it's been set up, the only power that women have is sexuality. That's our currency. And that is how we, quote unquote, have been able to get ahead, right? The more beautiful you are, the more things get handed to you, which is not true, right? That's the stereotype, right? And if a woman is somehow got a promotion or whatever, she must have slept her way to the top.
Yep.
She must have knocked other women down in order to get here. And I think that, like, similarly, our generation is realizing that's not true. That's when women really are together in community, when we really do have villages for each other, everybody succeeds.
Oh.
And when we had the whole girl power movement in the 90s, that it was like, oh, we can have it all. We can do it all. We don't need to fight for our rights anymore. We got them. We're all good. Look at us. It made it so that women stopped asking each other for help and expecting each other to help and to be around each other. And we were expected to do it all and do it all alone. And for me, being part of these organizations and just hearing over and over again women saying, I didn't know anyone would ever want to help, so I never asked. I thought I was supposed to do it all by myself, and if I couldn't do it all by myself, then I'm a failure. And I hate to be like, that's a man's world, but that's a man's world. Men don't ask for help. And they're like, oh, I'm a self-made man. Bullshit, you're not a self-made man. Your life is possible because of the unpaid labor of women.
There you go.
End stop. Full stop. End of the sentence, right?
There you go.
And over and over again, all the entrepreneurial training that I've done with men and with women, all the entrepreneurs who fail are the ones who never ask for help, who think they can do it all by themselves, who think they're going to be the big boss and they're going to have their peons who do all the work for them below them, and they don't have to care about those people and they don't need to take care of them. Those are the ones who fail. And the people who succeed are the ones who rely on each other, who give back to each other, who are kind and take care of each other, support each other, ask for help, and take it when it's offered. Like,
Absolutely.
Like the number one thing that entrepreneurship has shown me, that you have to be interdependent on your community and give as much as you get.
Absolutely. And I was a person who got rejected a lot growing up because I was always a person that would ask for help. Always. In everything I did, I would ask for help. And going back to those mean girl rooms, I was rejected constantly. But I didn't let that define what I believed in sisterhood. So what did I do? I created my own table. And I said to myself, nobody mean is coming in this room. And on my podcast, I promise you, every guest I've had, every woman that's brought a light. Every woman is a girl's girl. She's encouraging, she's helping. And that's just a great highlight of how stand true to who you truly are and stand believing in sisterhood, even if you have been rejected. Because a lot of women going out there, Janna, I've been rejected my whole life. These people just don't like me. But you have to keep giving yourself that chance to find your rooms and find your circle. And I promise you, if you give yourself that chance, no matter how much you've been hurt, you'll find your sisterhood. You'll find supporters out there. You'll find people that's willing to invest in you. And another thing you brought up that a lot of women struggle with is imposter syndrome. So let's talk about that for a minute. What advice or strategies do you share with women entrepreneurs to help overcome that?
I have a whole workshop that I've been doing about it, and there's some of it in the course too. But the main thing about it is that you have to remember that women being not confident in themselves is systemic, built that way. They want us to separate from each other, right? Why they work so hard on trying to divide us? Could it be that they're afraid of what's inside us?
There you go. Yeah.
It's designed that way. And women fight amongst themselves because they're afraid.
Yep.
They're afraid. And people discourage other people from following their dreams because they're afraid.
Yep.
They are scared of someone else's success because it highlights all the ways that they were afraid to go after the thing that they care.
There you go.
If somebody else knocks your dream, tell yourself they're just afraid to do it themselves. I'm not.
There you go.
And there's so many ways that you can start to beat imposter syndrome. It's not the kind of thing that you can be like, I've worked on it. I don't have that anymore. It does not work that way. It's one of those things that you have to keep working on. It's like a muscle, right? You develop it And then if you stop developing it, then you get weak and it comes back, right? But you can develop the habits. So when you catch your brain saying, oh, I don't deserve to win this award. I won't even apply for it because I could never win that. I'm not good enough. There's so many people who are more inspiring or better than me or whatever, right? When you catch that line running through your head, be like, nope, block, next.
Yeah.
How can I take what I just said about myself and turn it around? And instead of hearing that line in your head, I don't deserve this award. I'm not good enough, smart enough, successful enough, blah, blah, blah. Turn it around. I am successful enough. The work I've done is valuable and other people will see that. That's it. And when you say it out loud, write the crappy thing down on a piece of paper and physically cross it out with a pen. Be like, no, we're not thinking that way anymore. And it's a matter of doing it every day. Get up in the morning and look in the mirror and take a look at what your physical body looks like and say, I am so grateful that this body has brought me here. That this body is able to do any of the things that it's able to do. Right? Because a lot of people have bodies that are not able to do everything, me included, right? But there's a lot of things I am able to do. And start there and say, I am so grateful that I can walk with 2 legs. I am so grateful that I get to have this business today. I am so grateful that I have that gives a shit about me. Right? Start there and remind yourself that if you feel like you're too fat or too wrinkly or too skinny or your boobs are too small or too big or whatever, and you're not fashionable enough or this or that or whatever, like your hair is frizzy or you got bad skin or whatever, right? The container that you live in, this body, it's not real. It's an illusion, right?
Everything's internal.
This is the thing that carries your soul around while it's here right now. But the thing that makes you, that's permanent.
Yep.
And if my body has wrinkles on it, cool. That means I got to be older. You can't regret growing older. It's a privilege denied to so many people.
Right.
And I just turned 44. I'm like, oh no, I don't look it. It's not about what your container looks like. And if someone else is discouraging you, there's a reason for that. And it's not about you. It's everything about them, right? There's always going to be bullies. There's always going to be bullies. And hopefully in the future, there will be fewer bullies because we'll be teaching our kids not to do that shit, right? But something my mom told me in 7th grade when some of the other kids were saying all sorts of things about me, right? It was all about the reputation. What are they saying? What are they saying? What are they saying? And you know what she said to me? People are entitled to their own opinion, and they are also entitled to be wrong.
Sure is.
If you know in your heart that whatever they're saying about you is not true, then it doesn't matter what they say or how loud they say it, because you know it's not true. Just remind yourself, they're entitled to be wrong about you.
Word. She brought a word today, y'all. That's a word right there. And I honestly can't really say anything other than she telling y'all the truth. It's gonna always be a person telling you can't do this. And if you start feeding into it, I'm telling you, your mind is gonna literally tell you, I can't do this. And eventually you won't. So if you know you're passionate about starting a business or continuing your business and you don't have that support or you just don't have those funds running in, you got to keep going. You got to keep telling yourself, I'm going to make it. I'm going to reach my goals. Even if, like she said, write it down. Me, I would do it every week. Write down words that I had used over the week that was negative towards myself and rip it up. It's gone.
It really does. I was just reading this thing about dealing with trauma, that there's a Native American ritual where they collect little pebbles and they go to a body of water, usually a creek or a river, and that you speak about the trauma. And every time you talk about something that has wronged you or while you're talking about it, you physically throw those pebbles into the water and let them go. Works. so much better than any other kind of therapy, like clinically proven, to let you actually physically release something, emotionally release something, mentally, spiritually release something when you do it physically like that. And it's the same thing, writing it on a piece of paper and burning it, right? Or for me, writing it on a piece of paper and putting it in my machine and turning it into paper pulp and physically making something better out of this. Taking that and turning it into something new, flipping it on its head. And one of the easiest things that you can do is think about someone who you respect. So like a friend, a former client, a colleague, someone you met networking, right? Like your girl. Send them a text message and say, I want to find better language to talk about myself. Will you tell me how you would tell someone else about me? How would you speak about me to someone else? And whatever they write back, that's how they see you. Write it out. Put it on your mirror so you see that every day. This person sees me that way. This person who really cares about me actually sees me. That's what they see when I show up in the world. And most of the time, it is not something that you would normally say about yourself. And it's surprising that other people see that about you. Oh, when I'm making my art and doing my business and showing up the way I show up, so many people end up being inspired to pursue the things that they love, to go after those things that they think about late at night in the back of their head. Someday I want to do that. And from day one before I even ever had a business, right? Day one of making those artist books and telling people the story about losing my mom and how I found something beautiful out of that. How I keep her alive by telling people the things that she taught me. How I keep telling those stories around the campfire, proverbially, but ever, right? It inspires other people in ways that you will probably never, ever know.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Like you create those waves every day. And if you get up in the morning and you intentionally say 3 kind things to yourself, and then you go out in the world and you intentionally say 3 kind things to other people, what kind of ripple effect can you have in one day? If the first interaction you had with someone is like, you know what, you have a really great energy and I see it. Have a great day. And that's going to make that person's whole day better from that moment on. And if you're intentional about creating those moments for other people, then the confidence, it follows you around. You won't have to work at it as hard. But this kid I went to grade school with once said, I'm not conceited, I'm convinced. And you've got to get to the point where you're convinced. No one could ever tell me that I suck where I would believe it. Because I am convinced they are not changing my mind about me.
Oh, I love it. And y'all, again, she preaching off.
I know I should start a church.
Yeah. Yeah, because even if you're a man, it works the same way. You got to literally do that internal work and not let the external influence you to give up. And I'm here to tell you, it's been plenty of times where I should have just let this go and walked away because people weren't sharing, people weren't liking, people investing in it, but I believed in it. I said I can do this. And with fear in my heart of public speaking, because Lord knows I hate speaking publicly, I still believed in me and I said, you can do this. And what did I do? I started two. And now I'm hosting both of them because one I started with my sister. And now I'm hosting both of them by myself because I believe in me. I didn't need the support or the external validation of someone else. You really do. That literally is how your favorite celebrity became your favorite celebrity. That is literally how Starbucks became Starbucks. That is how Lowe's became Lowe's. It's because those individuals believed and they kept going even when they didn't have a million customers walking in the room. Most of them probably didn't even know where their next paycheck was coming from, but they kept going. You gotta believe in yourself, y'all. That's literally the key to entrepreneurship. Believing in yourself, believing in your vision, believing in your purpose, and stepping out there and going to get it. Exactly. Now, sadly, y'all, we've come to the end of today's episode, and we always leave with a legacy. And I give you a couple of minutes to think about this. When we think about your legacy, what do you hope Papercraft Miracles, your art, and your work as a mentor leave behind for future generations?
That if you're going to have stuff, your stuff should matter. The stuff should matter. Surround yourself with people who matter. Make them feel like they matter.
Ab-
That's all there is. It's this.
Yeah.
I hope people continue to have that feeling and share those stories and to access the connection. I want people to stay connected.
I love that. And you're well on your way to building that legacy. You've already set it in place. You're sitting on boards, you're giving out jobs to people. You're doing it already. And we just truly thank you for you and your time today. Now, sadly, you guys, today's episode has come to an end. But before we go, we're definitely going to make sure we get all her information. Please let us know how we can sign up for your artistic service with Papercraft Miracles. Let us know what all types of events you do as well. Let us know about your courses, your podcast. Let us know all the details.
So the easiest way to find me is on my website at papercraftmiracles.com. The course is on there as well under the media tab, under the course heading. The podcast is in there as well under that media tab. I'm currently working on building a new personal brand website that will be jannamakechange.com, but it's not ready yet. But you can follow me on Instagram at Papercraft Miracles and at jannamakechange. Those are my two Instagrams, and connect with me on LinkedIn if you want. You gotta spell my crazy name right to find me. But yeah, that's really the best way. Just scope up my website, take a look at our work, and do something cool, and then tell somebody about it.
Absolutely. And I will be leaving all that information down in the description box below. Any last words before we adjourn today's meeting?
Do it because you can, not because anyone's gonna make you.
Absolutely. And with that, ladies, today's meeting is now adjourned. Thanks again to Janna Willoughby-Lohr
Yeah.
and Papercraft Miracles for coming on and sharing all her insights. And you be sure to subscribe to About Her Business wherever you receive your podcast, so you never miss whenever we upload. Also, leave me some comments down in that comment section on which industry you think we should interview next. Until next time, keep your goals tight, that circle tighter, and that bank account growing.